Certificate templates are more than paperwork, they're security boundaries. Misconfigured permissions, subject names, or EKUs can silently become unauthorized access, privilege escalation, or even domain takeover. In this module, you'll learn how to design templates that support the business without giving attackers new identities or paths into your environment. You've already built out a full PKI, covering fundamentals, ADCS deployment, real-world certificate operations, and CA hardening. Now we're zooming in on templates, because they quietly determine who can get certificates and which identities those certificates are allowed to represent. Certificate templates are the policy brain of your enterprise CA. They control who can request a certificate, which identity goes into it, what cryptographic options are allowed, and exactly how that certificate may be used. If a template is too permissive, a normal or compromised account can enroll and end up with a certificate that Active Directory trusts for logon. Treat template design and review as an identity security function, not just a PKI configuration task. When you evaluate certificate templates, think about impact if they're abused. Anything that lets a user or machine authenticate to Active Directory, log on with smart cards, act as a domain controller, or run privileged services is high risk. Compromise those, and an attacker can move laterally or take full domain control. By contrast, templates used mainly for basic encryption or internal TLS usually carry lower risk. Use this classification to decide which templates need immediate, strict security review. Enrollment on a template is essentially permission to mint identities. Granting enroll or auto-enroll to broad groups like domain users effectively says anyone can mint an authentication credential. Auto-enrollment magnifies this because bad decisions spread silently and at scale. A safer pattern is tight scoping. Specific security groups mapped to a clear business need with approvals where appropriate. Always confirm that template permissions line up with what's actually published on the CA. Enrollment is only half the story. If an attacker gains right permission on a template, they can add dangerous EKUs, weaken subject rules, or remove issuance safeguards. With right DACL, right owner, or full control, they can go further, change the ACL, grant themselves enroll, or take ownership and quietly persist. Treat template administration like domain admin rights. Use small, dedicated PKI admin groups, document every delegation, and review those ACLs on a regular schedule. Subject and SAN define who or what the certificate is actually for. The subject might be a user, computer, or service, while the SAN extends that with DNS names, UPNs, or email addresses that applications actually check. Your key design choice is where those values come from. When they're reliably pulled from Active Directory, you get consistent, trustworthy identities. If you allow manual entry, you must lock it down, or you risk issuing certificates that claim identities they shouldn't. When a template lets users type any subject name or SAN, and that certificate can be used for authentication, you're effectively letting them choose who they want to be. A malicious requester can enter someone else's UPN or a sensitive DNS name, get a valid certificate, and log on as that identity. To stay safe, build subjects from directory attributes wherever possible, or require strong approvals and tight operational controls before issuing certificates with user-supplied identity fields. Extended key usage is the allowed uses list for a certificate. Applications read those EKUs to decide whether they trust the certificate for a given operation. Routine EKUs like server or client authentication and code signing are common, but authentication-related EKUs are different. If a certificate can log on a user, a computer, or a domain controller, it effectively becomes an identity. That's why EKU review is critical for any template that can impact authentication. Client authentication and smart card logon certificates are essentially reusable passwords. With the right EKUs, a single certificate can unlock enterprise apps, domain logons, and even privileged admin sessions. These templates are far riskier than a typical server TLS template. Access should be limited to specific users, devices, or workflows, with strong approvals and auditing. If an attacker enrolls here, they don't just get encryption, they gain a fully trusted identity. Think of EKUs like access badges. An any-purpose or no-KQ certificate is basically an all-access badge. Different applications might treat it as valid for logon, VPN, email, or code signing, even if you never intended that. This makes incident impact much worse. Instead, issue narrowly scoped certificates with EKUs that match one documented need. When a broader EKU really is required, treat it as an exception and review it carefully and frequently. Issuance requirements are your last line of defense before a certificate is created. The request is submitted, then someone reviews the identity and the business justification. A manager or designated approver validates that the request is legitimate and appropriate. Only then does the CA issue the certificate and record the decision for audit. Use these approvals on high-risk templates and design the process to be practical so people actually follow it. Least privilege for templates means each role can do only what their job requires. Requesters can enroll or auto-enroll, but can't change the template itself. Approvers or enrollment agents can authorize requests, yet still don't modify template settings. Only a tightly controlled PKI admin group should create, edit, or retire templates. Avoid broad built-in groups and recheck these permissions whenever roles change, organizations reorganize, or new applications appear. Template reviews should be treated as a recurring security control, not a one-time cleanup. Start by listing every template and confirming which ones are published and still needed. Then tighten permissions, especially enroll, auto-enroll, and full control. Validate subject and SAN behavior, and ensure EKUs match the intended use. Finally, document the owner, purpose, and approval flow, and schedule regular reviews so drift and risky changes are caught early. Secure certificate templates are identity security controls, not just configuration files. Lock down permissions, avoid requester-controlled subject and SAN fields, and tightly govern any template that can authenticate users or machines. In the next module, we'll apply these principles to real ADCS attacks, audits, governance practices, and hybrid Azure PKI scenarios.